Ryan and I had been in love for 2 years, and we finally walked into the wedding hall together. His group of close friends from his hometown, 3 men and 1 woman, had arrived a week earlier. Together, they planned a beautiful wedding. When they saw me tear up with emotion, Ryan gently told me that all the hardships had been worth it. After the ceremony, my husband said he wanted to take his friends out for dinner to thank them. I didn't want to trouble them any further, so I invited everyone to have dinner at our house instead. Everyone drank quite a lot that night. I arranged for them to stay over, dividing the rooms by gender so they could rest properly. Ryan was taking a shower in our master bedroom while I lay on the bed watching our wedding video again. A perfect wedding, a loving husband, a warm home. At that moment, I felt like the happiest woman in the world. While I was lost in that feeling, I suddenly heard Ryan call out from the bathroom, "Lila, bring me my underwear." I was about to get up when I froze. Lila wasn't me. She was the only woman in Ryan's group of friends, the one he always called his little sister. Before I could react, Lila answered him and walked straight into the master bedroom. She didn't even knock. In her hand was Ryan's underwear, the very pair I had washed by hand and hung on the balcony yesterday. She went straight to the bathroom door and shouted, "Hey, open up. Your daddy brought you some bitter melon tea." Ryan laughed from inside. "Leave it on the sink and get out of here." Lila teased back, "How dare you talk to your daddy like that? You got married and already forgot who raised you, huh?" Then she turned to me with a bright grin and said, "Don't mind him, Emma. We spoiled him too much. You shouldn't baby him either. Spoiling your husband only hurts him, you know?" A cold breeze slipped through the open windows, sending a chill down my spine. I pulled the blanket up and said, "You've got pretty sharp hearing, huh? Close the door. How did you hear him from 2 rooms away?" She smiled smugly. "I just guessed he forgot to bring his underwear into the shower again. After a few drinks, he's always like that. His daddy had to stand guard outside the bathroom." Without hesitation, I replied, "His dad's been dead for over 10 years. Don't you think saying that is kind of unlucky?" The smile froze on her face. Her mouth opened as if to speak, but no sound came out. Just then, Ryan stepped out of the bathroom, looking straight at her. "What's wrong? You opened your mouth but no words came out? Someone cast a spell on you?" Her voice trembled as she muttered, "Your dad." Then she turned and left the room. Ryan followed her. "Hey, why are you mad? Tell me who upset you. I'll get revenge for you." She snapped, "Go sleep with your wife and stop bothering your daddy. And don't ever ask me to bring you anything again." Another one of Ryan's friends came out of his room, sounding annoyed. "Lila went out of her way to grab your underwear for you, and your wife gave her a hard time?" He turned to Lila and said, "Come here. I'm here. Don't bother with a married man." As he spoke, he threw an arm around her shoulder, trying to pull her toward his room. Ryan immediately grabbed his arm and yanked it away. "Get your filthy hand off her. Go back to your room." The wind blew through the room again, extinguishing every bit of warmth left in my heart. Ryan returned to our bedroom, looking slightly displeased. "Did you say something to Lila?" he asked. "Yes," I replied. "She walked into our room without knocking and handed you your underwear. Shouldn't I say something?" His face darkened. "She's my close friend. It's not a big deal. She's like one of the guys just grabbing a pair of boxers. What's the problem?" If I hadn't seen him earlier push that guy's arm off her and personally lead Lila back to her room, I might have believed him. Maybe I would have believed him. I said, "Oh, maybe I was just overthinking." I even went out of my way to arrange a separate room for her and booked her a private room at a hotel, spending extra money for it. "Tomorrow let her stay in the same room as Tyler," I said. Tyler was the friend who had just defended Lila earlier. Ryan immediately frowned. "How could they possibly share a room?" I replied coldly. "They're all friends, aren't they? What's the problem?" He fell silent, clearly at a loss for words. Normally I'm a gentle person, but this was the first time he'd ever heard me speak so sharply. He could tell I was truly angry. He hurried over, sat beside me, and tried to comfort me. "Don't be mad, babe. You've had such a long day. I didn't want you to do anything tiring, so I asked her to help. Besides, the bathroom's separate. She didn't even see me." I asked quietly, "Do you often ask her to bring you underwear when you shower?" Deep down, I thought maybe he'd just called the wrong name by accident. Ryan and I had been in a long-distance relationship for 2 years before deciding he would move here. After all, this is Beijing, a big city full of opportunities. I'm the only daughter in my family, and everything here was better for his career. He had only moved to Beijing a month ago, so we hadn't been living together for long. I knew there would be things we still didn't fully understand about each other, but I never expected that another woman would be comfortable enough to hand him his underwear while he was in the shower. He hesitated for a moment, then said, "Not really. You know how it is. We hang out, drink, talk, play games. Whoever's nearby helps out, that's all." I asked, "Then why didn't you ask one of the 3 guys to help? Isn't it because they're men and I'm a woman in the bedroom, so it wouldn't be appropriate?" That was a reasonable explanation, but I still couldn't shake the discomfort building inside me. I pushed his hand away and said, "She's your dad, right? And she calls me sis? That makes me your aunt. You should keep your distance from me then." Instead of moving away, Ryan pulled me into his arms. "Come on, baby. It's our wedding night. It's supposed to be special. Are we really going to fight because of someone else?" In the past, whenever he tried to coax me like that, I would usually give in. To be honest, I'm not a difficult person. I may be kind, but that doesn't mean I'm weak. Tonight, I felt my boundaries had been crossed, clearly and completely. I didn't want to just brush it off, but I also didn't want to start a scene on our wedding night. After all, there were 4 of his friends downstairs, and my parents were upstairs. I said, "Go change your underwear. I don't want to touch something another woman's already touched. When a man and a woman don't have boundaries, they're both rotten." I thought he'd just change and that things would calm down. After all, his friends would be leaving for their hometown tomorrow. I figured once they were gone, we could sort this out. But Ryan gritted his teeth and said, "Emma, do you really have to be like this? Can't you stop assuming the worst about people? Lila and I grew up together. She's like family to me. Saying stuff like that is insulting to her." I shot back. "Like family? In what way? Is it the skin-tight mini dress that makes her look like your brother, or the fake eyelashes and heavy eyeliner?" I stared him down. "I asked you to change your underwear, and that's an insult to her? The underwear she touched, you can't take it off now? Can you stop being unreasonable?" He snapped. "They came all the way from our hometown just to help me prepare this wedding to give you a perfect, memorable day, and now you want to pick a fight with them?" That pushed me over the edge. "You think I'm picking a fight? Have I treated them badly? I paid for their round-trip flights. I covered the hotel costs. I bought their suits. I gave each of them a wedding gift worth $2,000. I even prepared local specialties for them to take home. They got drunk, and I was afraid they'd be too tired to go back to the hotel, so I let them stay here. Tell me, how exactly am I causing trouble?" Then I looked at him, my voice shaking with anger. "You're the one who should be reflecting on yourself, not me." Was I really being that unreasonable? While we were arguing, I suddenly received a video from our wedding. I opened it, and my whole body trembled, whether from anger or heartbreak. I couldn't tell. In the video, while I was away changing clothes, the 3 male friends had deliberately pushed Lila toward Ryan. They cheered for the 2 of them to drink a wedding toast together, right there in front of all the guests. Ryan had his arm around Lila's waist, the 2 of them looking into each other's eyes affectionately as they clinked glasses and downed the drink together. When they finished, Ryan smiled and said, "Congratulations on the wedding." Lila laughed and replied, "Guess your daddy's married now too." I looked at Ryan coldly and asked, "So tell me, whose wedding was this? Yours and mine? Yours and Lila's? Or yours and your dad's?" Ryan stared at the video for a moment, stunned, then said casually, "It was just a joke." "A joke?" I snapped. "A joke is only funny when everyone's laughing. Do you think I find this funny? Do my parents think it's funny?" No wonder when I came back from changing, my parents didn't look happy. Back then, I thought they were just sad about giving their daughter away. But now I realized they had seen this whole scene. My parents are traditional people. They would never approve of their son-in-law behaving like that with another woman. They probably wanted to tell me, but held back, afraid I'd be upset, or that it would ruin the ceremony. They must have endured that moment in silence until the wedding ended. Seeing how serious I was, Ryan began to lose his patience. "Emma, aren't you overreacting? Everyone was just joking around. Yesterday everyone teased me, so I went along with it. They worked so hard to organize this wedding for us, I didn't want to embarrass them. Do you really need to make such a big deal out of this?" But I was too disappointed. At first, I thought he had just carelessly crossed a boundary and that if I told him, he would understand. But clearly, he didn't see anything wrong at all. For the first time, I began to doubt our marriage. I said, "You didn't want to embarrass them? What about me? What about my parents? Does my dignity not matter? What you call a small joke is a matter of principle to me." "Ryan, maybe we just don't see life the same way," he snapped. "Principle? What principle? There's nothing between Lila and me. What kind of filthy thoughts are you keeping in your head? Can't you stop nitpicking over every little thing?" "Oh, so what you mean is," I said, "I'm supposed to watch my husband flirt and joke around with another woman at our wedding and just clap and cheer for you both? Are you still not done?" he growled. "Do you even realize how this will end if you keep pushing?" "It's a shame," I said, my voice icy. "I wasn't there to see that scene in person. What a pity. Why don't you two reenact it right here? I won't just clap. I'll stream it live so everyone can witness your pure friendship for themselves." Ryan gritted his teeth. "You're insane. You're a crazy woman." I glared at him, feeling my heart shatter into pieces. We had once joked about something like this. I remembered teasing him after reading a quote that said a woman's life goes through 5 stages: maiden, lady, resentful wife, madwoman, and finally silence. I told him, "If one day you make me resent you, I'll skip straight to the Empress stage and demote you to a eunuch." He had laughed, pulled me into his arms, and said, "That day will never come, but if it does, I'll turn into your little piggy instead." We had both laughed so hard that day. His words still echoed in my ears, yet now they felt like something from another lifetime. The sweeter those memories once were, the more bitter they felt now. Maybe he remembered it too. His face changed for a moment, but in the end, he said nothing. He just turned, slammed the door, and stormed out. He actually had the nerve to slam the door. Even the door still knew how to keep its dignity, and yet he was the one who didn't know the meaning of dignity. I could hear the group of his friends sitting in the living room. Our argument earlier had been loud. No doubt they had heard most of it. Good, I thought. Let them hear. At least they'd understand where my boundaries were, so I wouldn't have to spell it out later. One of them, Jason, asked, "What happened?" Ryan brushed it off casually. "She's mad at me for drinking too much." Then Tyler chimed in, "What's the big deal? A man having a few drinks is nothing. If you ask me, you should remind her that the man is the head of the house." Lila jumped in quickly. "Come on, don't stir things up. Ryan's basically living with her family now. He should learn to compromise a little." Ryan frowned. "Who are you calling someone who married into his wife's family? You think I can't support myself? I could support 10 people like you." Lila pouted, her voice turning syrupy. "Your daddy needs you to support him now, huh? I was just trying to help, and you're snapping at me. You're like someone biting the hand that feeds them, don't even appreciate kindness." Another one of his friends, Eric, laughed and said, "Honestly, I don't doubt who runs this house. Look at the wedding bouquet. Emma liked eustoma flowers, but Ryan switched them to champagne roses because Leela liked them. And she didn't dare say a word, right?" Lila smiled smugly, and Ryan immediately tried to hush him. "That's enough," he muttered under his breath. But it was too late. I was already standing at the door. When he'd told me about the bouquet change, he said it was because he preferred the meaning behind champagne roses. Turns out it wasn't about meaning at all. It was about pleasing someone else. Now, looking at Lila in her purple pajamas, everything clicked. I had wanted the wedding colors to be pink, bright and joyful, but Ryan had insisted that purple was better, elegant and a symbol of deep love. And I had agreed. What a fool I was. I'd paid for their plane tickets, their hotel rooms, and the gifts. I even thanked them sincerely for helping organize my wedding, saying I appreciated their effort and how much it must have cost them to come. But now I realized they hadn't been planning my wedding. They'd been planning hers, theirs, Ryan and Lila's, because she liked it that way. At that moment, I was shaking with fury. Ryan knew that if he didn't fix this, we were done. He rushed over to me and said, "Emma, don't listen to their nonsense. I really do like the meaning of that flower. And you said later that you liked it too, didn't you?" I was so angry I couldn't even speak. Lila, seeing me silent, must have thought they were in the right. She sighed pitifully. "That's true, Emma. Didn't you say the bouquet looked beautiful? If you're mad, don't blame them, it's my fault. I just mentioned once that I liked champagne roses, and I didn't expect Ryan to actually choose them. Please don't overthink it." That last line snapped me back to my senses. I said coldly, "You said that because you want me to overthink it, don't you? What you really mean is, even if it's my wedding, one casual comment from you is enough for Ryan to change things for your sake. Isn't that right? And another thing. Who are you calling sister? You're 3 years older than me. Stop pretending to be younger than you are. Ryan and I are arguing. Who do you think you are to jump in like some kind of savior?" Tyler's face darkened. "Lila was just trying to help, and you bite back at her? You were so emotional at the wedding, crying like crazy, and now you're blowing everything up?" Ryan turned on him sharply. "Tyler, shut up." Tyler's face flushed red, his eyes cold. "Why are you making Lila take the blame? Whatever problems you two have, they have nothing to do with her." I laughed bitterly. "Wow, you really enjoy playing the knight in shining armor, huh? What's wrong, Tyler? You in love with Lila but too scared to admit it? Hiding behind the label of friend, she treats you like a backup plan, and you still try to play the hero in front of me?" I took a step forward, my tone cutting like glass. No matter how hard you try, in her eyes, he still wasn't even close to Ryan. Jason finally spoke up. "All right, everyone's just angry right now. Let's stop talking. Tomorrow, when we've all cooled off, we can discuss this properly." Eric added, "Yeah, sister-in-law, please don't be upset. We've all known Lila since we were kids. We grew up together. There's really nothing going on." I stared at him and said coldly, "Oh, is that supposed to make everything okay? Then why did you all help change the wedding flowers and the theme color? You really expect me to believe you didn't know anything? Growing up together, does that give you all a moral free pass? Does growing up together mean you're allowed to strip down together too?" At that, Lila suddenly burst into tears. "How can you say such awful things?" I laughed bitterly. "You do disgusting things and still expect kind words? Aren't you the one who keeps saying you're one of the guys, that you're basically a man? Then why are you crying? Didn't your tough guy friends ever teach you how to cry like that?" Ryan snapped. "Emma, you're acting like a witch." I shot back. "Oh, really? Your precious dad over there is crying like a weeping pear blossom, and you're worried about whether I'm being a witch?" Lila spun around and ran out of the house, sobbing. The others rushed after her. Ryan glared at me. That was too much. Lila's a woman. What if something happens to her out there this late? I crossed my arms. "Oh, so you're worried about her now? What could happen? To men, she's just one of the guys, right? You think she's in danger of being hit on? Please, most of them wouldn't even give her a second look." "I'm going after her," he said sharply. "I don't want anything to happen." "Sure," I sneered. "Go run after your dad. You might not make it in time to burn him a paper offering." I laughed coldly to myself as he stormed out. After such a huge argument, he wasn't worried about leaving me alone at home. He was worried about 3 men chasing after one crying woman. As expected, when things get tense, a person's instinct always reveals what's truly in their heart. The moment he stepped out, I locked the door behind him. At first, I had planned to kick them all out, but this way was even better. They had left on their own. Letting them stay here any longer would have been an insult to my home. When I returned to the bedroom, I felt my entire body go weak. For the first time in over 20 years of living, I had ripped off all restraint and screamed, fought and argued with others until my throat burned. I had just gone toe-to-toe with 5 people at once. Now that the adrenaline had drained away, I could barely stand. The heated argument had completely exhausted every ounce of strength and courage I had left. This was supposed to be the wedding I had long dreamed of, the man I had loved for 2 years. And now I finally understood what it meant to fall from heaven straight into hell. I couldn't hold back anymore. Tears streamed down my face. I once thought my marriage would be different from my parents'. My father ruled our home. In his eyes, a husband was higher than the sky itself. My mother had grown used to enduring everything in silence. Sometimes I couldn't stand watching him scold her, but whenever I spoke up, she would scold me instead. She told me that's how women live. Your grandmother lived that way. Your aunts, too. Every woman in this family does. But I never wanted that. I've always resisted. I used to think, if marriage only asks women to tolerate everything, then why should women get married at all? I wanted a marriage born out of love, two people walking toward each other, not one bowing under the weight of the other. What a pity. On the very first day, reality slapped me in the face so hard it stung. Just then, the wedding photographer sent me the photos and videos from the ceremony. He'd originally said he'd send them all in 2 days after editing, but I had been too eager to post something online, so I asked him to send a few early. Now, as I looked through each picture, all I saw was irony. Throughout the entire ceremony, I smiled like a fool, pure and blissful, completely unaware. Ryan looked at me with what seemed like affection, admiration even. But how could everything change so completely in just one day? It felt like my heart was being thrown into a meat grinder, being crushed bit by bit. That was exactly how it felt. I watched the video of us exchanging rings, of me saying, "I do," with tears streaming down my face like rain. In that moment, I had truly been happy. But when I rewatched it more closely, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. When I said "I do," Lila's lips moved too. She mouthed the same 2 words. Her eyes were filled with the fiery bitterness of jealousy and resentment. A moment later, the guests began chanting for Ryan and me to kiss, but Ryan's gaze drifted toward Lila instead. The instant he looked at her, she plastered on a bright, dazzling smile. I played the video again and again, reading her lips carefully. Those 2 words, "I do, the champagne roses, the underwear." Suddenly, everything made sense. Maybe they hadn't crossed the physical line yet, but emotionally, they already had. Lila knew exactly what she was doing, and Ryan? He wasn't blind to it. He was indulging in that twisted sense of excitement, reveling in the thrill of keeping things ambiguous. A man who could behave like that, he was filth, plain and simple, rotten to the core. I wasn't going to tolerate it, and I certainly wasn't going to cling to someone like him. As that thought solidified in my mind, I suddenly heard footsteps in the living room. My heart clenched. I froze. I remembered that although I'd locked the main door, the small window in the maid's room could still be used to enter. Earlier, because the smell of alcohol had filled the house, I had opened that window to let in some air, and I'd forgotten to close it. Now someone had come in through it. I didn't dare make a sound. I was about to quietly text my parents, asking them to call the police when the front door opened. Voices followed. Ryan and his friends had returned. I couldn't believe it. Ryan walked into the bedroom, his face cold. He gave me a quick glance. He must have seen my red, swollen eyes, but instead of guilt, his face showed smug satisfaction. "What are you crying for?" he said flatly. "If you were going to cry like this, why make such a scene in the first place? Honestly, this whole mess is your fault. You imagined things and wronged Lila. Just apologize to her, and we'll forget the whole thing ever happened." From the living room, Lila's voice floated in sweetly. "Yeah, as long as you apologize, I'll let it go. I'm not holding a grudge." I stared at Ryan and said coldly, "You think because I usually speak softly, I'm easy to walk all over? Who exactly is she supposed to be? Some goddess from mythology that I should kneel and apologize to? And who are you to stand there demanding justice on her behalf? What are you to her?" I took a step closer. "Do you know what the spirits told me after you all left this house? 4 simple words. Dogs and men walk separate paths. Now get out of my house." Lila's voice rose again from the living room. "I told them I didn't want to come back, but they begged me to. If anyone's embarrassing themselves right now, it's you." Tyler barked. "Ryan begged her to come back. He said if he can't handle his wife, then he's not welcome back home anymore. What kind of man can't control his woman? That's pathetic." I sneered. "Woman? Tell me, how many mothers do you have? Must be quite the lively hometown, so full of men trying to call their mothers dad. Your ancestors must have been busy, huh? Whole flocks of parents and not a shred of shame between them. You're proud to lick boots and play backup for others. But if you ever tried to be an actual man, Your ancestors would hang their heads in disgrace. Or maybe they were never human to begin with. Bitch, Tyler shouted furiously. I cut him off with a calm smile. You want to insult me that badly? Go ahead, but the one you're really trying to impress is staring longingly at someone else. Save your energy, and if you dare speak to me like that again, I'll make sure you get a personal lesson in the full richness of Chinese culture. Tyler opened his mouth to fire back, but he didn't dare talk back, afraid he couldn't win against me, so his face flushed red, veins bulging across his forehead. Ryan's expression darkened too, black as smoked sausage aged 10 years. He gestured for the others to leave, then shut the door behind him. His tone softened. Emma, he said quietly. Lila's actually a very simple girl. Years ago, before my father passed, her dad saved his life. My family's always felt guilty, like we owed her something. Before my father died, he told me I should marry her someday. She's always believed I would. But then I met you, and I realized what I felt for her was only family affection. She once told me that marrying me was her dream. Maybe I've spoiled her a little, but there's really nothing between us. You have to believe me, we're innocent. What a noble story. I wondered if I'd still hear such pretty words if I weren't better off than Lila, if I didn't have the career, the looks, the money. Would he still be with me? It was nothing but a recycled version of some cheap melodrama. Too bad I wasn't the princess in his fairy tale. I said coldly, that whole story is yours. Whatever debts your family owes hers have nothing to do with me. It's not my job to repay them. He quickly said, you don't have to repay anything. Then why? I snapped. Are you all standing here in front of me, performing like you're on stage for the gods? You secretly switched the wedding flowers to the ones she liked, toasted with her at my wedding, and she even brought you your damn underwear right in front of me. You don't think that's ridiculous? I'm tempted to light 3 incense sticks and hold a funeral for your dignity. Ryan's tone turned harsh. Emma, I'm trying to talk to you calmly. Don't you understand? We're married now. This house is my home too. Who are you to tell my friends to leave? Why are you acting so self-righteous? You should remember, you're my wife. Without me, you're nothing but a used item. Do you really think anyone else would want you? I laughed, a sharp, hollow laugh that filled the room. So this is what you really think, huh? Ryan, look around. What century do you think we're living in? The Qing dynasty's been dead for over 100 years. And yet here you are, wrapping foot-binding cloth around your head. Used goods? That's hilarious. I may be second-hand, but I'm luxury vintage. You, on the other hand, new or old, you're just a pile of rotten vegetables. And in that moment, everything clicked. I had been wondering all night why he seemed to change so suddenly. But the truth was, nothing had changed at all. He'd simply stopped pretending. The real Ryan had finally shown his face. He thought that after getting married, he could control me, and now that the ring was on my finger, he didn't need to fake it anymore. Seeing I wasn't afraid, Ryan clenched his jaw and said, I'm leaving you. Don't regret this. I smirked. Leaving me? Oh no, please don't go. His expression shifted, thinking I'd softened. So you're finally scared, huh? It's not too late. Apologize to my friend, and maybe I cut him off. I said don't go, as in, don't just stand there. Go. Take your little entourage and get out of this house. That's me giving you one last shred of dignity. Because if I have to throw you out myself, it won't be pretty. He roared, fine. Emma, you're vicious. Finally, silence. The house grew still. I buried my head in the blanket, wanting to cry, but no tears came. The only thing that comforted me was one small mercy. We hadn't registered the marriage yet. A week before the wedding, we had planned to go sign the papers, but that happened to be the day his friends arrived in Beijing, so we postponed it. Then the wedding preparations got busy, and we agreed to register afterward. It turned out fate had given me an escape, a chance to cut my losses cleanly and start over. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe relief, but my thoughts blurred until I drifted off. In my dream, I was skiing when an avalanche struck. I fell into a steep crevice, sliding endlessly toward a dark, bottomless pit. My body kept falling, weightless, out of control. Then my leg twitched violently, and I woke up. The morning light had already filled the room. My whole body was drenched in sweat. That nightmare had felt so real it left me trembling even after waking. But what terrified me more was the thought that my life might actually be trapped in that icy crevasse, sliding deeper and deeper into darkness, unable to stop. "Emma, you're up. Come have breakfast." A familiar voice sounded right beside me. It was Ryan. For a moment I froze. Was I still dreaming? Ryan walked in carrying a set of clean clothes for me, his tone gentle, as if nothing had happened at all. A moment later, my mother entered the room, and he politely stepped out. My mom sighed. "Did you overreact last night?" I stared at her, stunned. "We live 2 floors apart. How could you and Dad have heard anything?" "Ryan came by early this morning," she said. "He brought breakfast and begged us to talk to you. He said he doesn't understand why you got so angry, why you kicked all his friends out. He's worried you'll get too upset and hurt your health. You see, he still cares about you, dear." I nearly choked on my own fury. Both my parents have fragile health. Dad has heart problems, and Mom has high blood pressure. I always try to protect them from any kind of stress. But Ryan, for the sake of his own twisted agenda, had dragged them into this mess without a second thought for their well-being. "Where's that shameless man now?" I snapped. "Still had the nerve to go tattling on me?" My mother replied calmly, "He's downstairs having breakfast with your father." "With Dad?" I said incredulously. "Dad's actually sitting there eating with him?" "Of course. Men always stand up for each other." I threw on my clothes and stormed into the dining room. I wanted to see for myself what kind of story Ryan had spun to win my father over. As soon as I entered, my father glared at me. "The first morning after your wedding, and you already caused such a scene? Do you know how embarrassing it'll be if relatives or friends find out? What were you thinking, making a spectacle like that?" I clenched my fists. "Embarrassing? What's embarrassing about standing up for myself? The disgusting things he did are what's shameful, not me." But Dad waved me off impatiently. "It was just harmless fun. Why take it so seriously?" "Really?" I said coldly. "If I hugged a male guest at my own wedding and drank from the same glass with him in front of everyone, would you find that funny?" Without hesitation, Dad barked. "Funny? That'd be humiliating, completely shameful." His answer nearly broke me. I hadn't even told him everything Ryan and his friends had done. I didn't dare, afraid it would only send his blood pressure soaring. And yet, even without the full story, he was already defending Ryan. He was even better than Ryan at finding excuses to make me the irrational one. My father has always been logical and polite with outsiders, but with me and my mother, he becomes the very embodiment of patriarchy, unyielding and authoritarian. "So let me get this straight," I said, my voice shaking. "If I did it, it'd be shameful. But if Ryan does it, it's just a joke? Am I even your daughter?" Dad's face darkened. "Men joke around in public all the time. It's normal. If you keep nitpicking like this, how are you supposed to stay married?" I slammed my hand on the table. "Then there won't be a marriage. Why do men get to joke around in public while women can't? Is that some kind of constitutional right? Or is it a divine privilege only men are granted? We've had gender equality for decades, and yet somehow, in your world, being a man is still a lifetime immunity card." "Disagreements happen in every marriage," he said sternly. "You'll learn to compromise. That's how couples last." "Compromise?" I shot back. "Dad likes cilantro, Ryan doesn't. That's a disagreement you can work through. That's compromise. But this," I pointed to my chest, "this is corrosion. It eats away at me. You tell me to endure, to swallow my pride, to step back when I did nothing wrong. Why should I? Am I that worthless?" Seeing that neither of them could sway me, Ryan finally spoke up. He lowered his head, pretending to think deeply, then looked at me with feigned sincerity. "Emma," he said softly, "I think I finally understand why you were so upset last night." "I was just too excited about marrying you," Ryan said, his voice soft and contrite. "I lost my head for a moment. But Lila and I, there's really nothing between us." I looked straight at him. "If you have to use words to prove your innocence, it means it's already gone." He seemed startled, then lowered his tone even further, pretending to be gentle. "I'm sorry, Emma, I really didn't think that far in the moment. If what I did made you uncomfortable, I apologize. Please try to understand me a little." I let out a cold laugh. "Every sentence you say starts with, 'I'm sorry,' but every one of them ends with an excuse. So if I don't forgive you, that means I'm being unreasonable now? Tell me, Why do I always have to be the one who understands you? Ryan's patience finally snapped. It was just a joke. I already apologized. What more do you want? His voice rose sharply. In the 2 years we'd been together, he had never once yelled at me. For the first time, I realized how little I actually knew this man. I said calmly, when someone's right, they don't need to raise their voice. Yelling doesn't make you right, and it definitely won't make me back down. You're not thinking clearly today. We'll talk another time. I need space to think through everything that's happened over the past 2 years. He sneered. I get it. You're just looking for an excuse to get rid of me, aren't you? I looked at him coldly. Wow, you sound like a Buddhist monk who suddenly turned into a pig demon. You're a master at twisting words, aren't you? He opened his mouth to argue again, but I'd had enough. I turned and walked straight into my bedroom. At that point, I didn't want to see any of them, not Ryan, not even my father. Just then, Ryan's phone rang. His so-called brothers were calling. He left the house looking irritated, but not before politely asking my father to talk some sense into me. And my father, of course, didn't disappoint. He put on the full weight of paternal authority to pressure me into swallowing my anger. My mother followed soon after, her voice trembling with worry. He hasn't cheated on you, has he? She said softly. He knows he made a mistake, and he apologized. Just forgive him, honey. That's how marriage works. You let the small things go, and life goes on. If you push too hard, and he really decides to leave you, no one else will want to marry you. I looked at her, my chest tightening, but my voice stayed steady. So as long as a man doesn't cheat, divorce isn't allowed? I don't want to spend my life looking back on my wedding day with regret. I don't want to wake up every morning drained and bitter, slowly turning into a tired, resentful wife. Don't I deserve to live in peace? Why do I have to be the one to endure? I'm perfectly capable of supporting myself. Why should I stay and make myself miserable? What law says a woman must get married? What judge will sentence me if I don't? Mom's eyes filled with tears. If you never marry, how can I rest in peace? Your father and I will be gone someday. You'll be all alone, with no husband, no children. How can a woman live like that? I replied, and what about all those women with husbands, abandoned in nursing homes, waiting to die? There are plenty of them, aren't there? Tell me, Mom, after a lifetime of patience and endurance, are you happy? Do you really want me to live like you, tolerating everything, never raising my voice? You know he's not a good man, yet you still want me to stay with him. Isn't that just asking me to jump into the fire? She covered her face, her voice shaking. Why does your life have to be so hard, Emma? I said quietly, it's not hard, Mom. Don't try to convince me anymore. I'm not suffering at all. We never signed the marriage papers. God gave me a chance to stop this, and I'm taking it. My mother fell silent. Then my father stood up and said firmly, if you break up with him, don't call yourself my daughter again. I looked straight at him and said, Dad, you want to pick up the piece of crap a dung beetle left behind and call it a black pearl, don't you? Then don't expect me to interfere, I said, my voice sharp. But if you expect me to swallow it, no matter if the sky falls, I won't. I'd rather die than eat shit. Truly, life was never short on absurdity. If it wasn't a handful of chicken feathers, it was something even messier. Just then, I got an email from the hotel with the final bill. I had booked 4 rooms, not counting Lila's. The other 3 had already checked out. No wonder Ryan had rushed off earlier. His so-called brothers must have called him to pay the bill. It was a high-end hotel, not cheap at all. 4 rooms for a week came to over 20,000 yuan. He must have been reluctant to part with the money, so naturally he thought of me, the ever-reliable sponsor. I was about to call the hotel to refuse the charge when I remembered I was the one who had made the reservation myself. The credit card authorization was under my name. Canceling the payment would be useless now. I stared at the invoice and sighed. They really were close, weren't they? At this rate, even an iron bar would have been ground down to a needle. Still, I contacted the hotel and said I had some concerns about the bill. I asked to review the security footage to confirm the charges were actually made by them. The hotel manager agreed without hesitation and provided the videos. I immediately settled the bill afterward. I didn't want to give Ryan any reason to catch on. This little gift, I thought, would be best unwrapped at the right moment. Before hanging up, I told the manager, I'll cover the 4 rooms only until today. If anyone stays beyond that, I'll refuse payment. While I was going over the expenses, Ryan returned home. His face looked tense, like someone carrying a secret he couldn't say aloud. I didn't even look up. He approached quietly and set a glass of water beside me, forcing a smile. Emma, you've had a rough night. Everything blew up yesterday, and I know you're exhausted. Here, drink some water. When someone like him suddenly acts kind, it's never a good sign. He was clearly plotting something. I glanced up, curious to see what he was scheming this time. He tried to make conversation. What are you working on? Calculating last week's expenses, I said flatly, and checking the wedding gifts. I should log everything properly before returning the favors later. But don't worry, they're all my relatives, not yours. He smiled uneasily. Your relatives are my relatives too, aren't they? I was done with his act. Just say whatever it is you came here to say. Stop circling around it like a politician. You'll make your dear father proud. Ryan's face flushed slightly. Are you really not letting Lila stay at the hotel anymore? I couldn't help laughing. There are dozens of hotels in Beijing. Since when am I her landlord? If she wants a place to stay, let her figure it out herself. But the hotel said you canceled the payment, he said, frowning. Now I'll have to pay for her room? Why not? I shot back. I'm not her mother. She's your dad, remember? Be a good son and take care of her. Lila came here to help with our wedding, he said quickly. Correction, I interrupted coldly. She used my money to help organize her own wedding. Distray. I haven't even asked the 2 of you to compensate me yet. Ryan's jaw tightened. Tyler and the other guys went back to our hometown today. Lila wants to stay in Beijing for work. She's a girl, it's not safe for her to live alone. Now that you canceled the hotel, she has nowhere to stay. We still have that small apartment we were planning to rent out. Maybe she could stay there temporarily? Ah, there it was, his real reason for being so gentle. I sneered. She wants to stay in Beijing and develop her career? Please. With that brain, she's only fit to count the sun during the day and the moon at night. And as for you, stay away from me. I'm allergic to trash. Ryan's face went pale, but he swallowed his anger. His voice softened again, pleading. Emma, please. We already made an appointment to register our marriage tomorrow. Let's not make this worse. I swear, you're the only one I love. Wow, I said with a bitter laugh. You really don't give up until you've hit rock bottom, do you? I looked him straight in the eye. Ryan, I don't believe a single word you say. Not even a comma. We are not getting married. You had your chance to register, remember? You know exactly why we didn't. And now you think I'll agree? You'd have better luck climbing to heaven, so do yourself a favor, drop it. As soon as I said those words, I could see regret flash across his face. That day, we really had planned to go register our marriage. But then Lila showed up, complaining of stomach cramps, dizziness, and motion sickness from the flight. I told the others to look after her, and right after that, she conveniently fainted and had to be taken to the hospital. Ryan, of course, insisted on going with her. And just like that, we missed our appointment. By the time evening came and registration offices were closed, Lila had miraculously recovered. Looking back now, it was obvious she faked the whole thing. Back then, I was too naive to see it. Thank God I was. Otherwise, I'd be stuck in a divorce right now, fighting over assets, spending 30 days in emotional torture just to be free. Ryan's face turned pale. I could tell he was filled with regret, but he also knew there was nothing he could do. He turned to leave. I knew exactly where he was going, to call for backup, meaning my parents. My voice cut through the silence. Ryan, I said coldly, the smartest thing you can do right now is walk away peacefully. If you so much as involve my parents again, not only will I not change my mind, I'll make sure you repay every cent I've ever spent on you over the past few years. Think carefully. He turned around, eyes burning. Emma, how can you be so heartless? I didn't even cheat on you. Why are you so determined to leave me? I met his gaze without flinching. Because Ryan, on our wedding night, you made it impossible for me to ever love you again. You know what kind of marriage I wanted. You know what kind of person I am. Maybe you thought that once the ceremony was over, once the rice was cooked, I'd just tolerate everything, as long as you didn't cheat physically. But you were wrong. I will never live a half-hearted life, and I won't spend my days trapped in a marriage that eats away at who I am. He left after that, quietly, but I knew his silence wasn't surrender. He understood that making a scene would only make him look worse. When my mother saw that he hadn't come back to plead, she sighed and said, "At least he's not clinging on. That shows he's sensible." I smiled faintly. "No, Mom, it's not that he's sensible, it's that your daughter is." I didn't give him the smallest crack to squeeze through. Men like him don't waste their time on lost causes. My mother's eyes darkened. "So he walks away without a single consequence? Heaven must be blind." "Don't worry," I said softly. "The time for punishment just hasn't come yet. That's exactly why I let him go. Some things aren't worth my effort, because karma has its own way of collecting. And in this case, I know exactly who will take care of it for me. Lila? That woman would never let go of Ryan. Even after our fight, even after everything that happened, she'd still cling to him like ivy to a dying tree. Ryan always believed she was a pure, innocent girl who secretly loved him. He had no idea how wrong he was. Lila wasn't simple, she was strategic. She knew exactly what she was doing. I was certain the video of their wedding toast was recorded by Tyler and leaked by her. After the wedding, I blocked all of them, Ryan, Tyler, everyone, except for one account, the anonymous WeChat ID that had sent me that first video. 3 months later, that same silent account sent me another clip. Ryan and Lila's wedding. Her belly was slightly swollen, she was pregnant. Judging by the timing, she must have conceived around my own wedding. They stood there, smiling sweetly, glowing with joy. Ryan rested his hand gently on her stomach, saying nothing at all. But her intent to provoke and challenge me was crystal clear. I didn't rush. I used a burner account to send Ryan the hotel invoice from our wedding, along with one very special video. According to the invoice, all 4 rooms had used up entire boxes of condoms. Multiple boxes, in fact. As for the video, Lila was seen prancing around in different outfits, carrying bananas, grapes, and other fruit as she went knocking on each man's door. The 3 brothers returned the favor, bringing fruit to her room as well. There wasn't a single night left unoccupied. No wonder they'd been so eager to help her organize the wedding. Such loyalty. They were practically inseparable, so close they might not even know whose child belonged to whom. Truly admirable. Lately, my mother had been asking me almost every day if I'd heard any news about Ryan. I told her the story was quite entertaining but still ongoing. Of course, she pressed for details, so I told her everything. Rumor had it that Ryan had been crowned with several green hats. Word spread fast in his hometown. Humiliated and mocked wherever he went, he finally demanded a divorce. But Lila's father refused to let her go. One night, drunk and furious, Ryan beat her so badly that their child was lost, and Lila herself was severely injured, one eye nearly blind, and her ability to have children gone forever. After that, Lila clung to him even more desperately, refusing to divorce. Tyler, outraged, called the police and insisted Ryan be charged with intentional assault. As of now, no one knows whether he's been sentenced. My mother slammed her hand on the table. "That scumbag. Why hasn't he been convicted yet?" I said calmly. "They're still evaluating his mental state. Rumor has it he's lost his mind. Who knows if it's true? Either way, he's ending up in one of 2 places, a psychiatric hospital or a prison workshop." Ryan's little circle of brothers had scattered too. Their once unbreakable bond was now a laughingstock in their village. Unable to show their faces, they were forced to move away and find work elsewhere. And Lila? She'd apparently ended up on the streets. My mother exhaled, visibly shaken. "Thank God you didn't jump into that pit of fire," I smiled faintly. "Exactly. A woman has to know where she's walking, and who she's walking with." Just then, my father's voice called from the living room. "Hey, tea's gone cold. Make me another cup." That's what he called my mother, Tea. Her cheeks flushed instantly. A few seconds later, she shot back. "You don't have hands? Make it yourself." She turned to me, and we both burst out laughing. In her eyes, I caught a glimmer of warmth, like spring itself had arrived, and everything around us was finally blooming again. Ryan's POV. Ryan sat alone on the edge of his bed, in the same apartment where he and I used to plan our future together. The walls were still the same pale cream I'd chosen, but everything else felt empty, stripped of warmth, stripped of meaning. The curtains hung half open, letting in the gray morning light, and dust drifted in the air like ash. He hadn't slept in days. His eyes were bloodshot, his hair unkempt, his hands trembling as he held the phone that no longer received my messages. My number, the one he'd once memorized by heart, was gone from his contacts, deleted long ago, but he still dialed it sometimes just to hear the robotic voice say, "The number you have dialed is unavailable." In those long, heavy silences, regret crept in like a disease. He thought about that night, our wedding night. When I'd sat on the bed, my wedding dress still glowing faintly under the lamp, and he'd called another woman's name. He could still see the look in my eyes. Disbelief first, then hurt, then something far worse, coldness. He never realized until that moment that love could freeze faster than it burned. Lila had left him months ago. She'd taken what little money he had left and vanished, leaving behind nothing but unpaid bills and shame. His friends, those same brothers he'd once bragged about, no longer answered his calls. They had their own lives now, their own messes. No one wanted to be reminded of the scandal. He wandered the city for a while, trying to drown in bars, women, noise. But no matter how hard he tried, the same memories came back. The way I laughed, the way I used to make coffee for him on cold mornings, the way I looked at him like he was my whole world, until I finally realized he wasn't worthy of it. Now, there was no laughter, no warmth, only silence and the faint sound of traffic outside. For the first time, Ryan truly understood what he had lost. It wasn't just a woman. It was the only person who had ever believed in him, who had stood by him when he had nothing, and who would have stayed if only he had cherished her. He whispered my name into the empty room over and over, like a prayer no one would answer. Emma. The sound broke in his throat. He had thought love meant possession, that marriage was something to control, not protect. He had mistaken patience for weakness, kindness for naivety. And by the time he realized that love was something you earn, not something you own, it was already gone. Outside, the city lights flickered through the rain. He stood by the window, looking out at the world he'd ruined with his own hands. In the reflection, he saw a stranger, hollow, tired, and alone. And that was when he finally understood the truth I had told him long ago. Some people only learn what love is when it's too late to love again. Would you choose safe solitude or exhausting love? Love and Lies story.